I thank everybody for joining us. We apologize for the technical issues that we were having, but we are here live on Facebook and on Zoom. Put the Zoom information and make it available for any individual who would like to actually join live on Zoom, and then you can have that conversation with us. That would be great. But I'm actually going to introduce um, Norman Alston from Kingsway International on this webinar called Beyond the Schools and Playgrounds, talking about the impact of bullying, how it can have for adults as well as our youth, and not just bullying, some of the impacts that that can happen um, when we're not addressing bullying the way that we really need to from a mental health standpoint. I want to also introduce one of our guests this morning, Ms. Heather Riggs. She's going to share her information, some really valuable information that we want to make sure that people have. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Norman, and we'll just go from there.
Hello, 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 hello. My name is Norman Austin, and I'm part of Kingsway International. And what we do is a lot of stuff about the family. We use different things as bullying and different things to talk about how to bring the family together. Well, today we're going to talk about beyond schools and the playgrounds. Bullying happens other places than the playgrounds and schools. And today, a lot of people always say, Coach, but what about bullying in other places? Is there bullying in other places? And I always say yes. So we're going to talk about those places today. We're going to talk about the bullying at different at schools. We're going to talk about the bullying at people's jobs, where it can take place. But I have a special guest today, Miss Heather Riggs. Um, we as friends we talk about different things, and there was a tragedy in her life, but out of that tragedy she began to see the positive of helping other people. So we're going to talk a little about that, about how she helps people and what she does. um we all know just because something happens tragic, we don't have to stay there, but it gives us strength to do other things. And she's seen that strength in herself and the people she surrounds herself in to help other people to get over what she learned how to get over. And I say how she learned how because it wasn't easy. There's days that come up when she just can't deal with it. But then she remembers who she is, and she remembers what it is that she needs to do to help somebody else not go through what she went through. Okay? So, Miss Heather, we're going to start with you. You can just introduce yourself and tell people what you want to do.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. I'm so honored that you invited me to this webinar with you today because it is very important. The things that you have stated this morning with bullying, like Norm said, Mr. Austin said that my name is Heather Riggs. I founded a foundation. It's called Teardrops, a Mindset for Healing, after losing someone I love deeply to suicide. That loss changed everything for me. What began as grief has grown into a mission to turn pain into purpose. Ashley, that was my daughter. She was bright, kind, and full of promise, but she also battled silently with mental health struggles. So today I speak not just as a mother, but as an advocate for change. My mission is to raise awareness, break the stigma, and build a community where no one feels alone in their mental health journey. We focus on education, outreach, healing, and we're especially passionate about highlighting the hidden factors of bullying, which too often pushes people into struggles, which makes them go further into silence. Bullying isn't just about kids being kids. it can spark that, it's a spark that can ignite mental health crisis in some people. Whether it's in school, like, Mr. Austin said, online, even among adults, bullying isolates, shames, and deeply wounds people's spirits. For someone already struggling in mental health, that could be their tipping point. So what I'm trying to do is build the awareness to move forward so that we can listen to others in their, journey or in their feelings of distress, struggles that they may have, and just bring the awareness, like Mr. Austin stated. So that's what my foundation does. We sort of we're here as advocates to give resources and support, because mental health comes in all ways, so many different levels to it. So that's pretty much what I do, and where my pain has turned into a mission.
Thank you. Thank you for talking about this. I know that, it's hard, but it's something that we need. There's a lot of people going through this silently, and they won't say anything. And people don't know that they're in pain or they're hurting because they won't open their mouths, or they can't open their mouths. And we as family have to stop saying that these people, why are they doing this? Why are they not because of mental health? They don't understand. You think that they want to just leave? No, a lot of them, they fight it, but they fight it silent. And we want to know people, we want to let people know that we're here for them, that you don't have to fight this by yourself. And it's the same thing with bullying. Bullying is part of mental health. Some people don't know who they are. So when we first start looking at bullying, the first thing that comes to our mind is that, oh, our kids are getting bullied on the playground, or our kids are getting bullied in school. But we don't say our kids are being bullied at home, because there's things that happen at our houses that we just don't pay attention to. Or there's people that go to work, and they go to work happy, but when they get to work, they become sad because there's people there who's bullying them. Hate to say it, but it happens other places. It happens at our jobs. There's some people who bullying others because that person that they bullying is smarter than them, and they want their job, or they're trying to satisfy their strength. So they bully somebody who they perceive who's weaker than them.
And one of the things that I wanted to also bring out just before you go forward, a little bit more, Norman. I don't know, Miss Heather, if you mentioned the actual name of your foundation, and I want to make sure that people, you did, okay. So,
thank you. Yes, it's Teardrops, a Mindset for Healing Foundation. Thank you.
Okay, all right. As we always, as Coach Norman, and many people know him as Coach Norm, when we talk about those things that are happening at work, a lot of times, or at home, a lot of times there's external factors that we're not always aware of, right? So if you have a person, just like, you said, Norm, if a person may have just recently lost their job, or they've been working for a promotion and they didn't get that promotion, and they've got a lot of stress, we know this economy is, crazy right now. And so you have individuals that are trying to make households work and things like that. And so they're under this enormous amount of stress, and we don't realize how impactful stress can be if we're not able to tend to it. And so now you're in this mental headspace where you're acting out, or where you're, short with your family members, you're short with your kids, you're not getting answers that you would like to have. Things just aren't panning out the way that you would like them to pan out. And then you have that trickle down effect. And then unfortunately, when you don't, when you don't feel like you can talk to somebody, you're internalizing all of that. And then those factors then begin to play on your mind. And, sometimes people are so worried about not putting their stress on other people that they end up handling things in isolation that they really don't need to. And then you have the outward effects that come in the way of bullying, hate. And so sometimes we don't connect the hateful things that people may do with the fact that you're actually bullying. One of the things, Norm, that I want to make sure that we cover, like we talk a lot about what bullying is, but can you just maybe even share, really briefly, like what are those four types that we talk about all the time, and what are some of the signs or characteristics that may that somebody could kind of identify that, hey, this is bullying.
So one of them is a physical violence. That's if you take and you touch somebody or touch somebody's personal things. That's physical bully. That means you're putting your hands on them or something that belongs to them. Another one is when you start to use the computer. That's cyberbullying. You get to say words or things that people don't know it's you on these this equipment. So that becomes cyberbullying. It gives you strength that you have that other people who you're talking to don't know who it is. Or there's verbal. You call people out of their names. You say things about them that is not part of them. So we have physical, we have verbal, and emotional. We have emotional bullying where sometimes you may give a person a comment, or you may lift the person up in one way, but really you're downplaying by another way that you're saying it. So verbal and emotional is close, but building somebody up and then tearing them down so that you can gain the advantage. That's emotional bullying. And bullying is never good. No matter what it is, it's never good.
And so would you also say that you can have circumstances that will use all four, right? So you can have an instance where it may start off as verbal bullying. You may be going back and forth with somebody and you're saying certain things about them. Then it can turn into physical bullying where you have that altercation, or not, as you said, they're not touching the person, but they're touching their things or knocking their books over, things like that. That's still bullying. And then absolutely, I may go to you and start saying things to you that will, like you said, help build you up. But ultimately, I'm really trying to make you look bad or have people laugh at you. And then, round it out with the fact that we have social media, our computers, where we can kind of hide behind and get people involved in the negativity. So my intent in bullying is all about trying to intentionally harm somebody, which is different from conflict, right?
Hey,
We talk a little bit about conflict.
conflict. So sometimes that when we're talking to somebody or these two people are going at it, it's a conflict, but it can be resolved. It's not a person who's trying to gain advantage over one. So that's the difference between bullying and conflict. A lot of us don't know that. They say, well, you're bullying me, but no, it's really a conflict that's going between both of you. So we got to learn what bullying is. We can't put bullying into everything that we do. Everything that we do is not bullying. Sometimes it's just a disagreement that you need to talk about or bring somebody in to talk with you so you can resolve what's going on. And that's what a conflict is. It can be resolved. Sometimes bullying, it takes more because you're trying to gain an advantage over the people that you're around, or you trying to be bigger than what you are, and you decide to pick on a little person who you think can't defend themselves against you. That's the difference between bullying and conflict.
And so, because we're focusing here on activity that can happen outside of schools and outside of playgrounds, and we use that, in a very generic sense, but the purpose of having this conversation is to help adults also realize the role that we can play, whether it's ourselves being intimidated by, a particular person, and whether we feel equipped enough to help our children or youth that we are have, have relationship with. Sometimes we may not feel as though we're equipped to be able to help them the way that they need to be helped. And so if we're not understanding, number one, what those 4 types of bullying are, then we're already at a disadvantage of not being able to really address certain things. And so we know from a mental health standpoint, not it's the ultimate, and I don't want to necessarily say the ultimate impact. We can maybe look at someone, losing their life or taking their life as the ultimate, but I think for someone who may be living in a place of stress, for them, that may be the ultimate place, right? For them who don't feel like they can get out of a particular circumstance, it's the worst place in their mind. And so unfortunately, then, they may take those unfortunate next steps. But we want to make sure that we're also empowering people to not just get help, but to acknowledge the things that are happening. Because I would ask the both of you, do you feel as though even acknowledging where you are is a good first step and not just kind of brushing it off?
Yes, so I just like to say, so it starts with listening, with talking, with showing up for people, with checking in on people that you may think have been stressed out due to bullying or any other nature. And then, we sort of just want to teach, the children in communities that, mental health is really serious, and it's just a ripple effect of a lot of things in life, right? So what we're trying to do is help them not go to the extreme part of the crisis, right? So with that, we're, like I say, I'll just repeat, with just showing up, being there, understanding, no judgment, so if somebody's, being bullied and it's coming into play where they feel like they're being judged because of what the bully is saying, we have to learn as a community and as family and friends to be more supportive and let them know that that person is just that. They're a bully, and the things that they say are very unkind and not true. So we just sort of help them have a voice. And I think that that's the biggest thing with the stigma in mental health, is that nobody feels like they have a voice, to speak what they're feeling. So we just have to learn how to, listen, support, and be there for one another.
So Ms. Heather, in just ask you a question. So when you went through what you went through, was there a difference in the personality of your daughter? Did things change? I know you said that when we were just talking that the family got to start asking questions. Was there any questions that you didn't want to ask because you didn't want to know at the time because you didn't understand, but you knew there was something different?
Absolutely. As a mother, I felt like, you know, we birth these kids, they come inside of us, and we deliver them into the world. So there has to be something that's in them that's like us besides what they look like, right? So I would see the signs, but I just thought that she had the strength in her that I had in me, right? To be able to bring her through her most difficult moments. So there, I can honestly say is judgment, right? Because I thought she was somebody other than who she was, right? So that's where it takes you really seeing the person for who they are. So there were, you know, signs, yes, you know, they may be where they're really, really happy, and then things go kaput. Or you will see that they're sad and that they're struggling. So that's the difficult part about this mental health. And that's why it's so important to make everybody aware, to be a little bit more close and compassionate with, you know, your family and friends. Because we don't show, we know you're raised, at least I was raised in a generation where, you know, what goes on in your household goes on in your household. You know, what goes on in your family, you can help your family through, right? You don't need your village. You just need you, right? But it's how you show up for your family, you know, because you can't show up with the feeling of shame. And that's how I think I handled a lot of the situations. It was almost like, let's compare it to health, right? Physical health. So if a person has cancer, it's like, oh my goodness, let me pray for you. But if a person has AIDS, it's like, oh my goodness, where'd you get that? What kind of lifestyle do you live? Right? So it's the same sort of situation. You know, mental health is serious. It's like cancer. You know, it's not always what has happened in a person's life, it's what was triggered in their life that brings them to their feelings of sadness and alone, you know, and discomfort, and not being able to move forward out of the shame, you know, that they are the only ones that this is happening to. So where we have to meet them with is silence if we don't know what to say or how to help them. Sometimes it's just silence. It's just being there so that they don't feel alone in their emotions, in their feelings. So there's, you know, I can look back to things that where I was very aggressive when the crisis was actually there and when it was happening. But then I also can look back and see where I probably should have just been silent and more understanding to find out more resources to how to help someone, you know, going through such a mental health crisis. Because it doesn't stop with us. We don't know everything, right?
Right.
You need help, you know, so you have to kind of know your resources. You have to really know the language of the health system. And that's with anything. That's with, if you walk in the doctors or the hospital with diabetes and your blood sugar is off, you have to kind of know the language that they speak so that you can get the proper care for yourself. Because ignorance goes on many levels too. So if you walk in the hospital and they think, oh, well, it's not that serious, you know, so, and you don't know no better, you don't know what next step to take. So I'm just going to tell you, just go home and drink some water and relax. You know, that's not the truth. So that's where, you know, my foundation, that's where I come in as an advocate to help speak the language, you know, for you and with you, because mental health is not recognized just as bullying. You know, when you're being bullied, you're ashamed. So it's almost the same feelings. You know, you feel like you're alone. So it speaks volumes to be able to come abroad and speak with others and be in a safe space with others, that you could speak about your bully, and to know that you have someone there to help guard you.
And just like you said, as a family, we have to be vulnerable as a family and not worry about what other people are going to say, because they don't know our situation or they don't understand what we're going through. They might take it as jokes, but that's because they don't understand that what my family is going through now is something real. And I have to step up, even though somebody else in my family may not step up, but I understand. And it's the same thing in bullying situations. You have to surround yourself with people who are going to stand up, people who are going to stand with you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to tell somebody what's going on, because that person that you tell could be the one who walk with you. The person who you tell could be the one who, even though you may not speak up, but they can speak up. Have that person or those persons who you trust. We got to learn how to trust people. We got to know how to open our mouths, because a lot of times in different situations there are people who want to help you, but because we don't say nothing, because we're scared. We're scared of how people are going to look at us. We're afraid how people are going to see us. But like you said, mental health plays with our minds, makes us think that we're better even when we're not. Because the bullying, they tell you something. If they tell you blue and you're not blue, you're not going to say yes. You're going to say, no, that's not me. And that's the same thing that we as family, and everybody is a family, because we lean to one another to get things that we don't know about. Back in the day, they did things different because they didn't know. But now we know, and we need each other every day, because we don't know what's going on. I mean, at our house, we don't know the language that's going on at our houses. But you, just like me, when I deal with a lot of teenagers or kids, I deal with them outside the house, but I don't know what's going on. So I have to do exactly what you said, is shut your mouth and listen to the situation, because sometimes people cry out by saying a lot of stuff and we don't know what it is, because we're trying to give them do this or do that instead of listening to what they need. And sometimes all they need is for us to be quiet and listen to them. And by us listening to them will bring out the real problem. And then we can find out where to go at or who to go at. I'm not saying that we can go to everybody, because everybody's not for us. There's people that you just not going to tell what's going on. But sometimes in your case, maybe a hug will do something good instead of asking the person what's going on. You just hug them and they feel your love. I'm getting kind of emotional here because I feel the pain. I feel the pain for our community. I feel the pain for those that have been bullied, those that are no longer here. I dealt with your son, and I know that was something that he was passionate about, my sister, and your grandchildren. So for you to walk in this thing, I want to walk beside you because I understand it's real. But somebody else who don't understand what's going on, we can help. When there's a platform of one, maybe 5 people here, but when there's a platform of many, people started to notice, and they want to get on board because of the fact, hey, there's more than one person talking about the same thing. If we're talking about it and talking about it and doing different things, that mental health, this is more than just bullying or just more than being kind. What about that person that don't say nothing and just sit there?
Right.
Whew,
Right.
I'm
The
sorry.
one thing, no. The one thing I just wanted to kind of interject this as well. Like everything that you guys were talking about, it's also about being a safe person. Like you have to present yourself as being safe. Like I am going to be more comfortable sharing with you the things that are happening with me if I feel safe with you. And that may begin with, that hug or that, I'm not asking you a bunch of questions. I'm just letting you know that I'm here and I'm here when you're ready to talk. And, hey, just checking in, just making sure, shooting somebody a happy
Text.
face emoji or
Yeah.
something like that, or whatever. It's like, I know you got a lot on your plate. I know you have a lot on your mind. I just want you to know that I'm still here when you're ready to talk. And so the more that we can be that safe place for people, the more then people will not feel alone. It's like even when you were describing your circumstance with your daughter, from the standpoint of the book that Norm wrote, like in the My Bully My Friend, the young man was being bullied, and his father was a very caring person, was literally teaching about bullying prevention, but he didn't let his father know that he was being bullied, not because he didn't think his father loved him, not because he didn't think that his father wasn't there for him, but because he didn't want to embarrass his father. And so sometimes our young people may not want to bring not just that stigma on themselves, but they don't want to bring that stigma on their family. They don't want to let people know that there are certain things going on because they don't want their parent to look bad. They don't want their household to look bad. And of course, we have that, like you guys already talked about it, what happens in the house stays in the house. But what that did was that bred a cycle of silence that we're now seeing the results of, where people feel like they have to handle things on their own. And because I don't, again, want to bring that stigma, not even just on myself, but on my family members. Because if I let somebody know that I need help, then they're going to think that my parent is a bad parent. And that's not it. Or I'm an adult and I'm dealing with this and I should be able to handle this. I should be able to stand up for myself. I should be able. But if you were never given the tools and if you don't recognize that, as Norm said, you're not blue. So just because somebody calls you out of your name or calls you something that you're not, then you have to know who you are. But sometimes that starts with somebody else putting up the mirror for you. And we have to be willing to put that mirror up for other people and say, hey, you're not what they say you are. You are a valuable person. We are valuable in this world, period. We were created for a reason. We may not always know what that reason is, and we're learning. But at the same time, if nobody ever, whoever may see this, if nobody ever told you that you were worth it, I'm saying to you that you are worth it. I don't have to know you to know that you are worth it because you have air in your lungs. You are worth it. So I just wanted to put that out there, as being.
And if I could just add to that, just to
Yeah.
go back to the safe areas, it definitely is not just with the safe space, but like you were saying, to make them feel safe. And the way that that happens is them not hearing their story until they're ready to release their story. So I could just tell briefly, with my daughter, there was a tragedy that happened in her life, and everyone felt like I should have handled it differently. But one thing I did was I respected her in her space because the tragedy that happened to her, it hadn't happened to me. So I had to wait until she was comfortable to release her story in order to proceed with the receiving help. And that was so hard. It was so hard as a parent to take the back seat to a child, you know. But once again, we breed them, we birth them, we bring them here, but God is the maker, you know. We're not the ones that dictate what really is going to happen and transpire in their life. So you have to be that trusting person for someone, you know, especially with bullying, especially with mental health. It's very sensitive. It's very sensitive. So even when you think you have the answers to, you know, protect them, oh, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to go put this shield around you, and I don't care who I have to go through, you have to remember they're the victims. So as them being the victims, you have to wait for them to say, okay, because you can cause another tragedy in their life trying to step up for them before they're ready to receive the help. So that's the hard part in all of this. And my daughter, I don't think I stated that she had been going now for 10 years. So the silence, I'm so glad, you know, to you know, be able to put together a voice on your platform, because that's what has to happen. It has to be told. It has to be heard. As uncomfortable as it may seem and be, it has to be told. So that's where I get my strength. It's still a lot of hard days. But I think that if I continue with silence, that her legacy won't go on. You know, I feel like she left here not willingly, but she left here because she felt like she had no other means to relief from her own pain. And after her, excuse me, her death is when I found a whole population of others. But had I not been silent in my home and been silent with her, fearing what others may think, then I don't know, you know, if I could have bought more time or gave more awareness to her to let her know that she was not alone. So that's why this platform with bullying and mental health, I feel like goes so hand in hand, because it's the same emotions. You know, when you're bullied, you feel like you are alone. You know, you're nobody's there to see it. Nobody's there to help you, you know. So the safe space is a guarantee, but also not telling their story until they're ready to release it. So you have to think of other ways to help them and be there for them and support them with respecting their space, because in the end, they are the victims. Mm-hmm. It's not us that's on the outside looking in, trying to be there to help and support them.
And that's why, Miss Heather, you know that when I was at Longside with kids around me, I made them feel as though that it was about them, but I gave them their individual spaces. They could always come to Coach Norm and know in their hearts that Coach Norm's going to do what he has to do to make sure that they're all right. If I had to shut up, I shut up. If I had to talk, I talk. But it was more than just one kid, because I understood the trend of our kids. I understood what they need. Some of them just needed a hug, or some of them just wanted to sit with you and tell their stories, because they were going through so much pain, and everybody was saying, what is it that I can do, when they just wanted you to be quiet. That's all. They just want to tell you, you know, for you to listen to them, because it was something that they wanted to get off their chest. They didn't want to hear you talk about this and that. They just wanted to talk to you about, I'm sorry, they just wanted to talk to you about how they felt. And they were special because of that. Each kid deserves the love that you give them because you don't know what they're going through.
Right. And I would just say, and I would add to that, Norm, that,
Yes.
you know, even families that have multiple children, right? So, um, being able to identify the personality of your individual child, because one child may be stronger in one area versus another. And it doesn't mean that they have weaknesses. It just means that they have different personalities. And so, as parents, you know, you have a tremendous job of trying to clothe them, feed them, you know, care for them, and you have to make sure that you personalize that attention. It's not an envious job, right? But because our young people today are exposed to so much, it's almost imperative that if we don't have the capacity to do it by ourselves, like you said, Miss Ricks, you know, using that village, using the Coach Norms of the world, and you know, other individuals that have that heart of your child, to allow them in that space, and then you kind of work together, because they may have a language and words that they can have with your child that you may not get. But if you're open to having that relationship with that third or fourth party, then they can do that kind of translation, right? And so, like, yeah, they're saying this, but they kind of really mean this. And so, why is that important when they're young? Is because those same people grow up and they end up in somebody's workspace. They end up in somebody's school. They end up on somebody else's job. And so it's not that they are bad, right? It's just that they were never given the opportunity to be heard and to be given guidance and direction. And so you have those people that are doing the bullying because they were never heard. And their biggest way of being able to be heard now is to intimidate somebody else sometimes, or to be able to be the menace at the job, or to be the loudest person at the job, intimidating people because they were just never heard when they had the opportunity as young people. And so it's not one or the other. It's and, because yeah, you know, we've seen too many school shootings, and when they did investigation, it was because that young person was bullied and they never were heard. Or they had a conflict, they just left it at a conflict, and they didn't realize that no, it was a little bit more than just a disagreement. And so that's also the importance of knowing the difference, because if we can come to the table, have an agreement, even if we agree to disagree, then we've squashed it, we're done with it, we can now move on. But if somebody hasn't moved on in that circumstance, then now we're getting into the area of bullying. And if I'm a child that got bullied and now I'm an adult and I decide that's never going to happen to me again, I may just very well be the person that's the obnoxious person in the office, because things were never taken seriously when I was a child.
And that's
So,
why some people start their own business. So because they're the boss now, they're in charge. They never got a chance to be in charge when they were younger, and now that they have the credentials of being the boss, they can do what they want to do. We also have with us today, Coach Dave. Is there something that you want to say? How you doing? And I'm glad that you were able to join us today.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. You guys, I'm in traffic right now. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, looking at all these signs that have Cajun food right there, Cajun tubs. And so I'm heading to Orlando, and you guys are talking about, you know, why bully me, or stop bullying me in our schools, and this and that. And all of us being on the front line, I mean, I just got back from Canada. The kids in Canada ain't no different. I came to realize that the United States is too big. I don't need to go anywhere else. And again, I talked to more and headed towards Orlando. I got my foster son, David, driving the vehicle. So, and yeah, just a quick story. David is my foster son. He was dropped off at about 12 years old at the ranch, and he just became my son. And so he's been with me ever since. How old are you now? 13? Just kidding. He's 28 now, and he's got 3 children, and he's doing great. So with all that said, I did want to say something. Thank you, Norm, Tiffany, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Heather. I'm going to one of the largest conferences in the nation, and I get to speak at this conference. So we just need to be ready because God's about to do something and do something tremendous. I'm going to go and talk to a whole bunch of people about even the church people. Discover the champion in you. See, it all starts with right here. It starts right here. You have to look at yourself in order to be able to see somebody else. So I'm doing the me to we. I think Tiffany and Norm has heard this. The me to we is very simple, Heather, is we've got to help people understand who they are. So discover the champion in you is going to unveil and release and uncover who people are. So, and once they do that, then the bullying isn't going to hurt them. I have 9 brothers. So if you can get upstairs without being teased, good luck. But I was never really bullied, but teased and this and that. So, but I also came to a conclusion at a very young age that I already knew. So I understood who I was. I knew me. I know that me is a loudmouth, life of the party, center of attention. I need pats on the back. Come on, I'm just being honest. All that stuff. So I understand who I was. So when someone tells me, dude, you're loud, you're obnoxious. Why do you always have to be the life of the party? Why do you always da 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 da? I said, well, I don't know. I guess that's the way God made me. And so I understood who I was. So when you said, my gosh, you're such a weirdo, you know how to dance and do ballet? Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. You know how to? I do. I mean, you do children voices. And yeah, I do. So, man, I said, right? I am. Isn't that the bad thing? Because I know who I am, so you're not going to bully me because I come to a conclusion. I understand who I am. It's hard enough. I already look in the mirror and I look and I go, my gosh, you look just like KFC and Mr. Clean. What are you doing, boy? And I was like, right? And I'm like, and so I understand that. So when people, I say, okay, get it, I get it. So once I did that, God said, now, David, you ready for this, Heather? Flip the M. When you flip the M in me, what does that become, Heather? We.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know who you are. Now you can go help people. Now you can go serve people. Now you can tell them, why bully me in school? Because I was. Or I was the bully, or whatever it might be. That's not my case. My case is I have children that were very hurt, and I fostered 50 of them. Now I seen everything. Suicide to cleaning it up to everything. You take the M, you flip it when it's time so that you can go serve others. Now, what does that have to do with bullying? Listen, if you understand who you are, then who can hurt you? Think about it. We think about this weekend too. Don't, why me? Oh my gosh, the world hurts. And listen, I think everyone here is a believer. You don't understand this weekend. Listen, this weekend he was beaten, bruised. He was torn apart. He was shred. He knows about bullying. And what did he do? He ended up forgiving them. Why? Because he was able to understand who he was, and he flipped the M. When you flip the M, that's it. You're done. You're good to go. You know who you are. Norm, Tiffany, they know who they are. I know how to. I know how to, I could get under their skin. I know how to do that. We all know how to do that. That's easy. What's hard is to say, my goodness, Tiffany, what did you do with your hair today? It looks amazing. Right? That's harder for a guy to do than to find something that's, not necessary. Like, Norm, what you do to your hair? But I can't. I get it. So I'm glad we know who we are. I hope that all made sense. But I'm that different cat. I'm that cat that wants to go in front of people and let them know that, listen, I get it. I know there's a lot of bullies. You've been bullied and you are a bully. So don't, whatever. I get it. Me too. Let's come to a conclusion that the only people that we can serve are ourselves, and to help them, the other people around us, understand who they are. And once we do that, bullying has to come to an end, because kindness will prevail. Love will be the norm, and that's about it. So, Tiffany and Norm, thank you guys so much. Heather, thank you for listening and paying attention. We just got out of traffic, and yeah, here we go. Orlando, here we come. I hope the beach is warm. Yay. So thank you guys so much. Love y'all. Can't wait to see you guys as well.
See you soon. Be safe, Coach.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for sharing.
And just like, Coach Dave said, our goal, our goal is to, break the cycle of bullying. And it does begin with people knowing who they are. And unfortunately, I'll say fortunately and unfortunately, everybody doesn't get the memo at the same time. So until that person gets the memo that, like, yeah, I know who I am, you just don't know who you are just yet. And so hopefully we can get there, but I don't have to take on whatever it is that you say about me. So it's just as much about how you receive as what you give out. Um, and helping people to see a different way, and I like, the fact of, Coach Davies, about this weekend, like, yeah, geez, he was bullied. He was all of that. um but again, he knew that he had a purpose. He knew that he had a reason for being here, and that's why, just like I said earlier, we all have a reason for being here. And so if I can help you get to what that is, and knowing who you are, and what your purpose is, then it's a win-win for both of us. But until you get there, I don't have to take on what you say about me. And so, whether you're an adult or whether you're a child, or anywhere in between there, we have an obligation to this world. The world is going to do what the world does, and we don't have to prescribe to that. And we just have to continue to, like it depending on where you're looking at it, it says be kind. Be kind to you. Start with you. And sometimes we can say the worst things to ourselves, and a lot of times we're just really repeating what other people have said about that. So you got to switch that around and look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you do have something to offer, even if you don't feel it. One of our daughters, she started saying this statement that says, "My feelings aren't facts." Because I can really feel a certain way right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the totality of my life. I'm having a bad moment. And sometimes somebody's bad moment can um give the other person or other individuals a license to put a label on me. And that's not necessarily, I just might have had a bad moment, but you don't get to put a label on me. And you have to take that same mindset into the workplace and into your family, because depending on how deep your family, goes, and how entrenched some behaviors can be, you may be the first place or the first stop in breaking that cycle. When we talk about cycles, it's because it's something that's happening over and over and over again, without you even realizing it. And the way to break certain cycles is to decide, make a decision that it stops with me. Like, and hey, sometimes you have to make that separation for a time being until, again, they get the memo that this isn't the way that it's supposed to be. Um, I'll, anybody else have anything?
Can I call you a bully? And why can't I call you a bully?
In what regards?
If I just say Tiffany's a bully, were you named a bully, or why don't I have the right to call you a bully if that's the way I feel?
Because that's your feelings. And my mom named me Tiffany.
That's right.
I mean, bullying is a behavior. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yes.
Bullying is a behavior. It's not a name. And so if we can address the behavior, that's what has to be addressed, the behavior. Sometimes that has to be with love. Like I love Dave because he is who he is, right? But you always know that it's coming from a place of empowerment, love, compassion, right? It's not to tear down. It's not to um uh disregard, so that's the difference in knowing the personalities of the people that you're working with or that you have in your family. Because just because my one child is, introvert, not as loud or things like that, and the one is complete opposite, and the one in the middle can play both sides, right? So you got to know which one can needs the stern talking to versus the one that you kind of need to sit back and just take a laid back approach to. And it's no different with us as adults. We're just grown up kids. That's really what we are. So
Again, I just want to thank everybody for being on here today. Our topic today was beyond schools and playgrounds. We're talking about where bullying takes place. Not to forget that it can happen at home, or it can also happen at your job. It can happen not just to kids. It can happen to adults who never dealt with bullying when they were younger, and it stayed with them. So when they got older, they began to become the bullies. And we want to talk. We have been talking about, what that looks like. We also had Miss Heather on here. We talked about mental health. She had a situation that she dealt with her daughter with mental health, and she explained to us signs to look for and what you can do. We're becoming together. We have Coach Dave on here. He talked about he's on his way to Orlando to talk to people about how to be helped. Talked about school things. We're becoming at one. We're becoming together so that we can break this cycle. There's a lot of hate in the world, and we come to break it. We come to break it by knowing who we are. We want to step up and help somebody else. That's the first thing. Coach talked about flipping the word me, flipping the M to the W. And out of that, you get we. We, not me. It's just like playing sports. You talk about, is there a I? And we talk about we. W-E, not M-E. We together can break this cycle. So there's things here, the mental health and violence and bullying, suicide, that all stems around one thing. And we come to let people know that we're here to give those who don't know help. We're here to allow people to understand who they are. So again, I thank you for coming here on this platform to be heard to somebody that don't know. Somebody don't know who they are. But just by hearing what you've been going through or what you've been saying, they want to join or they want to get help. Miss Heather, you want to tell us what the number where a person who's going through some things that you would that went through, how can they get help?
Yes. So the national hotline is pound 988. And that hotline is not just to be used as a 911, like when you're right in crisis. It can be used to prevent the end of a crisis. 988 will give you resources to counselors, to your local hospitals, or anything you're needing. They are even there to just listen, just to be there for you. So I always encourage people not to be afraid to dial 988 because it's there as a helping tool. It is not dialing into 911.
Thank you. Tiffany,
And just to no, just to add to that as well, making sure that link up with someone else, and even with the oh my goodness, that's so sad. I lost my whole train of thought with the 988. But pretty much, Miss Heather, you covered it. I want to make sure that oh, that's what it was. Even if you don't know what to ask, dialing that number, it will get you to the right place. You may not know the questions to ask. I think, and we talked about this just in our preliminary conversation, you may not know the different questions to ask your child or the person that you know is having some challenges right now. So they will be able to help you as well. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to say that you don't know. It's okay to not know what to do. It's not okay to have to ask yourself that question, what if, when you have resources that you can reach out to.
I just want to offer myself as a resource. Like I say, I have a foundation and I'm an advocate. So I am that person that can speak for you, with you, hold your hand, lead you to other resources. If you don't want to go down the road of the 988, if you want something more locally, you can contact me. My number is 856-257-3046. I am here, like I say, to help in any way I can. If it's just a hug or a Dunkin' Donuts date, just to listen. That's what I'm here for.
And if you want to give our website and our number out just in case.
Yes. And just so you know, so we will also have that number and additional numbers on our page as well as our resource page. Our website is kingswayint.org. It's KINGSWAYINT.org. Or you can call us on our phone number, which is 856-288-3345. And we'll make sure that you have access to the other resources that we're connected with as well.
Right. Coach Dave, is there anything else you would like to say before we get out of here?
You guys, thank you so much. Those numbers that you guys gave out, you guys, I endorse that. I endorse those big time. Give Heather, Norm, or Tiffany a call. I would give my number out, but my phone rings all day, every day, all the time. And but it's not a bad thing. So, yes, I endorse them. Call them. Let them know. I appreciate you guys big much. Let me just tell you something. Get ready. Heather, get ready. And you're going to have to go Google who I am because you might not know who I am, but you're going to find out. And we're in this together. That's right. Be before me, guys. Make it a blessed day. I appreciate you all.
All right. So again, we thank you for listening to us and understanding. We're going beyond. We're going where others decided not to go, but we made up in our minds that we have to go there to help somebody else. So get ready for the next one. This is one of many. There's things that we need to touch on. There's groups that we have to get with. There's places that we have to go. We're not stopping here. If you have any questions that you come up, call those numbers because we're there. We can't do it by ourselves, but we're on the right route. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right.